The Iowa caucus vote is still 3 months away, and already this race might be down to Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, at least according to Politico's Ryan Leza on Twitter this morning. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle. And today we're going to talk about the state of the Democratic race. Now, is it Leza or Litza or Liza? I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I've only ever seen it in print. He noticed something in the polls today. We've all watched as Kamala Harris has declined from 20% in the polls down to virtually nothing. And we've seen Elizabeth Warren, and this is what he noticed, because I don't follow the polls day to day, even though I'm supposed to. She peaked about 6 or 7 weeks ago, tied virtually with Joe Biden in the national polls. But since then, these last 6, 7 weeks, she has been in a steep and steady decline. She's now in a distant second or third place in a virtual tie with Bernie Sanders, who spent the last month and a half creeping slowly upward. And Bill, I don't think we're down to a two-person race here, but when you look at this race, you look at the two strongest female candidates who are both in a steep decline. You look at two old white guys with a lot of money who seem to have the strongest positions, and another old white guy, Mike Bloomberg, with a lot of money, the most money. I think he's got all the money that Jeff Bezos doesn't have. He's now trying to buy the nomination. You look at the state of this race, and what happened to our progressive intersectional Democrats?
Well, we did a segment of Bill Whittle Now yesterday, I think, or today, one or the other, as we record this. And we were talking about an article where somebody said this is the ticket that Trump should fear. And just for the record, I said then I don't think Trump really fears anything, but in any event, it was Pete Buttigieg, and who was
Pete Buttigieg and what's her name? Tulsi Gabbard, a representative from Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
That was a powerful combination. Checked off a lot of boxes. It was young and progressive and reasonably sane and so on. And apparently they're not getting any traction at all, which is bad for the country, but good for Republicans. Joe Biden is Joe Biden because of Barack Obama. Who has not endorsed him particularly yet. Is that true?
It's true.
Okay. So I can't see any possible circumstances where he would win. Elizabeth Warren's free fall is a little bit surprising. Maybe she went to get herself a beer. And then, when you say Bernie creeping up in the polls, he's kind of a creeper. That's what he does. If it's any one of these three old white people, then I'm going with our old white guy all the way.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, as we've discussed many times before, I don't think, other than that combination that we just mentioned, whose names I've already forgotten, I think that combination was the only combination that actually had enough appeal for the middle of the country, the sane middle, both the military experience, both of them, pretty reasonable by modern standards for Democrats. And at the same time, one is a woman, one is gay, both are young, that is probably the most appealing Dem ticket I could see out there. But look, if it turns out Elizabeth Warren's in free fall and Biden is returning to the lead, well, don't get cocky, kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Scott, look at this from two different angles, if you would, please. Number one, if you're a progressive Democrat and you really have an embarrassment of riches to choose from, even if these multitude of candidates don't add up to double digits when you put them all together, with the exception of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Do you vote your heart? Do you vote for one of these smaller candidates, or do you get behind Sanders since he's the guy that seems to be surging and maybe the only guy that can beat Biden? That's part one. Part two is, if you are the GOP nominee, I won't ask you to pretend to be Donald Trump. I'm not that cruel. But if you were the GOP nominee, which one of these Democrats would you want to run against the most?
Bernie.
Yeah, I think you always like to be able to draw a stark contrast. And so if I, Scott Ott, were the nominee, then I'd want to find the person who's as far away as possible from my views. And so, yeah, I'd want the biggest socialist in the lot, because you can gin up a lot more support among your base to come out and fight this creeping socialism than you can just to say, hey, let's get out there and beat that moderate Democrat, And I know there are a lot of people watching right now who say there is no such thing as a moderate Democrat, and certainly not in this presidential field. But, it's a lot easier when you're able to draw a stark contrast. So I would definitely want somebody like a Bernie Sanders or an Elizabeth Warren or an Elizabeth Sanders or Bernie Warren, either one of those. I think that Joe Biden, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something I'm missing about this guy, but every time I see him, I just think, I hope paramedics are standing by. Like, he just doesn't, he does not appear to be well. He looks older than his years. And
he is older than his years.
Yeah, and it's just like it's startling to see that. And frankly, I do think that if you're gonna purport to be the progressive party, the party of the young, you wonder why young people aren't turning out to vote. Well, maybe it's because you've got like 3 or 4 septuagenarians running while you're telling everybody how important the youth is. It certainly makes a lot of sense to go younger. And the only people on that younger level who seem to be getting any traction, at least on a state-by-state level, and frankly, I don't give a flying rip about the national polls. They don't matter at all, because all you really need to look at is state-by-state polls. How's he going to do in Iowa? How's he doing in South Carolina? How's he doing in New Hampshire? That kind of thing. Because that's how the Electoral College works. We still have it. Anyway, somebody with the ability to communicate, like a Tulsi Gabbard or a Pete Buttigieg, Cory Booker, I've seen him speak, and he certainly has the ability to communicate. He's not demonstrating it very well in this particular race, in these circumstances. But man, Democrats, why don't you be Democrats and nominate somebody who actually is a picture of what you say you stand for? A little diversity, a little bit of youth, a little bit of progressiveness. And frankly, I think that as a Republican candidate, it would be great if they did that too, because we'd clean their plates in either situation.
Hey, Steve, real quick,
please.
I'm just curious, did the Queen of Warmongers show up on this list? Is she pull any numbers at all?
Hillary Clinton and Mike Bloomberg aren't showing up in the polls. Neither is Michelle Obama.
Mike just announced this week, and he's only spent $30 million so far.
Because I've never heard anybody swept out the door the way that Hillary Clinton was swept out the door by Kelsey Grammer or whatever her name is.
Excuse me.
Oh, it was a thing of beauty. And the thing is, I think that's going to hurt Gabbard with people she needs most, because Hillary is so beloved by the female voters of the Democratic Party that
totally disagree.
You take her on, I think, at great risk to your electoral health and maybe just your health.
Do you know what would have made
I don't think so at all,
would have made it even better, because Scott and I just love that speech. We love it. Love it. I think the only thing you could do that would have made it better if she had said, "Oh, thou queen of the warmongers." If she'd said, "Thou queen of warmongers," it would be the perfect sentence of all time.
And the thing is, oh, yes.
Steve,
Scott,
I
go ahead.
really don't think that women love Hillary Clinton. I think it's like that old line from You've Got Mail. It's like she's not in love with him. She's in love with the idea of him. And I think Democrats are in love with the idea of having a strong female candidate to run for president. If you get behind the scenes and talk to some of these women, Hillary Clinton made no friends among women. I mean, for a wide variety of reasons, including her obnoxious personality, her horrible voice, and the fact that she, basically abused the women who her husband had already abused.
Well, let me take on
She has no friends among humans.
Bill, let me take on your
among mammals.
Your Buttigieg Gabbard ticket. I think nationally that would be very strong, but I don't think Mayor Pete can get the nomination simply because he's a gay white male that black Democratic primary voters are never going to support in numbers large enough to get him the nomination.
Or in the general either. Most Republicans don't realize that in order to win, to have any chance of winning a national election, the Democrats have to own 85 to 90% of the black vote in this country.
And the turnout's got to be pretty strong at that too.
And that's what got Obama over the line in 2012. And that's what didn't get Hillary Clinton over the line in 2016.
Yeah, and Gabbard is pissed off the warmonger wing, so there's no way she gets the nomination either. I can say warmonger wing, can't I?
Yeah.
I thought I knew how I was going to wrap this up, but you guys took all my talking points. So let me instead point out this. You know what? Let's just run through the map here. We've got Iowa coming up, where Mayor Pete is running a pretty strong first place right now. He just his most recent poll, he's up by 9 points, and let's say that he wins Iowa. I'm not sure Iowa matters that much this year when I look at the map. We move on to New Hampshire from there, and that's pretty much a toss-up between Sanders and Warren. And from there, we go to Nevada, which is very union friendly, and Joe Biden does great with unions. And from there, it goes to South Carolina about 4 weeks after Iowa. And South Carolina has a large black demographic that also is great support for Joe Biden. So I think if Biden gets Nevada,
the first four, yeah,
and I don't think he gets the first two, but I think he makes his comeback in Nevada and South Carolina, and if he does that, there's probably a better than even chance that he's the nominee. And I think what's going on here is intersectionality. Self-cancellation. We've reached a point in the Democratic electorate where everything is about intersectionality to such an extent that these various intersectional groups that just don't like each other very much can't agree on a common progressive candidate, and that means it's going to be an old white guy. Or I could be wrong. Who knows? Let's let the voters decide. We'll find out here starting on February 3rd. It's going to be exciting. We'll be here the whole time for you. And that is your right angle on that. We'll probably do another one of these a few weeks before Iowa. Can't wait to see what the numbers are like then. And remember, content like this needs sponsors like you. So please, if you aren't a member of BillWhittle.com, what are you waiting for? Click on over. Join up. We'd love to have you on board. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.